and welcome to this week's Wednesday Wisdom. Today I am going to be talking about your processes, really how you can create great processes within your business, and your processes are there to help your people to make your customers really happy. And so that's why processes are really important. And all the 20 odd years that I've been talking with businesses, process is the area where they think they need to get really technical about it and buy all of these technologies, new technologies. Actually, you can use pen and paper, really. It's really about having the motivation to make sure that your processes flow, that they really work efficiently and they support the people they're supposed to support. So I'm going to get into that in a moment. First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Janice B Gordon. I work with businesses and help them to grow. I have worked with a company a couple of years ago, and I helped them to grow their business by over 6 million in less than a year, which is pretty good going. And I use the strategies that I actually talk to you about. It really is no different. And whether you're a large business or a small business, the fundamentals are exactly the same. The implementation may be different, but the fundamentals are the same. And what I'm talking about in this series is really about customer-centric businesses, customer-centric organisations, customer-centric companies, customer-centric mindset. And it's about how you put that in place. So the things that I have talked about in previous live sessions is about your people and your products. Now, products and process are quite closely aligned, because you may have a great product but a rubbish process to deliver the product, and then the customers are still not happy. So it doesn't matter how brilliant your products are, and that's, entrepreneurs, designers, innovators, that's what you focus on. You focus on the actual product and you forget about the process of getting the product to the customer, and that can ruin a great product. So the two things go together really closely. You can't ignore one without the other. If you're talking about process, you're talking about your supply chain and how agile that supply chain is, how close you are. So not only as a business do you need to be close to your customers, you also need to be close to the people that supply your business in order to meet the needs of your customers as well. So that may be internal, or it may be kind of external, a lot of the suppliers to your business. So whatever business you're in, it's really about understanding about how you make your customers happy and then working backwards. So start with the end in mind. This is why process is really important. So I really want to kind of talk about this area and get you to think about the processes in your business and really break them down stage by stage. Often when I work with companies, I take a whole load of post-it notes, and most people have information in their head and they think they know how things work. So I then break it down through a series of asking lots and lots of questions, then actually get them to really kind of nail all of the little intricate processes that make up that product or that service or whatever you're wanting to do for your end customer. Once you've actually broken it down, and as I say, it's literally just post-it notes, just marking out all of the different steps and then grouping them together into the touch points and all the things that will influence that touch point being a great one, the ideal, or a not so great one. Who's involved, what resources are involved. And so it's really important to actually understand your business mechanism, the operations of your business, and spend some time on that. Because it doesn't matter how great your products and service are, unless the delivery mechanism to actually get there is absolutely nailed, is absolutely right, is simple, is efficient, and really kind of flows and is understood from your customers' point of view rather than your point of view. It may work well for your business, but if it doesn't work for your customers, it's not working. And so sometimes it's quite difficult to get that point across unless you actually start to actually be a customer of your own business or a similar business, and really start to understand how the processes can really impact your customer and prevent them doing business with you. And it seems crazy, you know, we're creating businesses, we're running businesses, we're growing businesses for our customers, not realizing that our processes are working against our customers. They're working for our business, but very much against our customers. And so, you know, it's really important, this whole area around process. It really can make or break your business. And I've got a really great a case study for you, and you may already know about this, and you may think, well, this happened to a big company. It happens to small companies all the time. It's just they're small that you don't really know about it. So it's really important to take the message of any examples, and I'll give you that in a moment. So first of all, I want to just explore this whole area of process and the link between process and your customers, and really kind of help you understand, you know, why it's important, what you need to do and what you need to think about. I'm going to try and make sure that it doesn't get too technical, because when it's like finance, when you start talking about process, people kind of like do tend to glaze over, really, especially if you're not a detailed person. So, you know, I'll try and make it easy as well. So when we're talking about processes, it's actually realizing that, you know, there are some businesses, particularly smaller businesses, that have a major advantage over larger businesses, simply because they have a simpler operation, simply because they have relationships, not only with their supply chain, if it's internal and external, and there may be close relationships, but they have closer relationships with their customers as well. So really understanding what your processes are in your business is really absolutely key, and understanding that they can be a real competitive advantage. Thank you very much for showing some love. You know, I do love it to get kind of feedback from you. This is also a process, so it's really great. Thank you, Jamie. Jamie Lee, it's really great when you know, like, you do get feedback, and that's exactly what I'm talking about. In your processes, they're not for you. Your processes are for your customers, and so because they're for your customers, you actually really want your customers at the core of those processes. You want them to almost design them for you. I often talk about complaints, and when I speak to business owners and entrepreneurs and businesses about their complaint system, it's kind of one of those things that they want to kind of hide away. And actually, you should be embracing complaints. And you think, well, what's that got to do with your process? It's because your process is broken down. And that's great feedback. I get really excited about complaints. It's brilliant feedback. If you were to take all of those complaints, all the things that didn't work, and you know, you were constantly looking at them and looking to improve those things, then you actually have continuous improvement within your business. So you can imagine, if you actually ignore all of those comments, negative comments and complaints, then it doesn't give you an opportunity to improve your business from your customer's perspective. Your perspective doesn't make any difference. No one's interested in that. It has to be your customer's perspective. Yeah, that's right. You know, this is the thing that's really, really important for customers, you know, for companies to embrace. Complaints are gold mine. You really need to embrace them. So it gives you an opportunity to know really what's going on in your business. You can interrogate that person or that company that may be making a complaint about your company. And people are all too willing to tell you what's wrong, but not only what's wrong, but how to put it right from their point of view. Brilliant. That's what we want. You know, really embrace those things. So that's why I do go into companies and ask them about their how many complaints they have, who's complained, what do they complain about. And it's really strange, the reaction that you get, because they really don't want to talk about it. They want to ignore it. They take it personally. You know, and I'm just getting really excited about this, because this is something that we can do straight away and start to put right. So What are the, does your company really embrace complaints? If not, then you're not a customer-centric business, you're not customer-focused, and you haven't got the operations that are in place that are going to continue to improve on its processes in line with what your customer wants and desires. And really, if you're not doing those things, then you really have to think about what your future is. It's that serious. The example that I was going to give you about where a company completely failed on their process, and then the secondary thing was actually they failed on their PR, but the process failed initially. And we all understand that nothing is ever going to be perfect. There's no point reaching perfect. It has to be good enough. And if you believe that your systems and your processes are good enough, then in order to make them better, it's about the feedback that you gather and you get. So I'm sure it was United Airlines. There was a musician travelling, and he saw his guitar being thrown around by the kind of baggage handlers. And so, of course, when he arrived, his baggage was in, his very valuable guitar was in pieces. So he complained. And so I won't go into the PR aspect of it, but it's about the process actually breaking down. And the reason why it got so much publicity, because the musician created a song about his experience and put it on YouTube, and it went viral. And so the effect of that breakdown of process and the effect of the bad PR was that the company lost about 20% of its value. That is massive. You're talking about a large global company. That is huge. And that's just from one process, one incident. So if you're a small company and you do something like that, that can break your business. You can't recover from it. You don't have shareholders. It's just you. It can break your business. If you're risking your home on that, that's the end. So this is why it's really important to look after your processes, look after your people, and they look after your customers. And you really can't ignore this. 20% downvaluing of that company. The chief executive went, and there was massive changes, but it was really very much down to what started this is having really poor processes, poor standards, poor checks in place. You cannot afford to let this go. It's so important. Great to hear that you're working on your process. It's really great that I'm able to share this with you. I really want you to think about your processes from touch points, from where your processes cross over with your customer, where you touch your customer, where your customers become aware of your business, where your customers can access your business. They're the touch points. That's where it kind of crosses over. So they may see something, and think about all of the things around that particular touch point that influence it. That's really your starting point, because you can have internal processes in your business that may be not working for your business quite so well. Of course it's important, those processes, but the most important ones that can make and break your business are the ones that affect your customers. And then, that's where your starting point. You may then work to is because of an internal process in the way that your pass information between your departments, or the fact that you don't do, get out invoices within the next day, you take a month or two, and then the effect that may have on in terms of your supply chain, whatever it may be. You start with the one that interacts and has the biggest detrimental effect on your customers, and you work backwards to your internal processes. You only really want to mend the internal ones if it has an effect on the external ones. It's your customer facing ones that are the most important ones. So they're the things you really need to look after. You know, many organizations' processes have traditionally been designed around the big company model, because that's where our initial experience came from. That's what we know. So when we design our own businesses, we design them with that model in mind. And because of the size of those larger organizations, where we cut our teeth and gain a lot of our experience, their processes are sequential. So, you know, you start at A and you end in Z, and, you know, like, so it might be a piece of paper or something touches all these different departments and sequentially work through. There can't be two pieces of paper that are running side by side. It has to go through a particular sequential linear flow. So we design businesses in that way. But, you know, like, the world has changed. Technology has enabled us to actually do things that are not sequential, that we can actually have the same processes be tested in different parts of the world. We can have different processes that are running alongside one another that come to the same endpoint. So we can actually design more complicated structures, because we have apps, we have technology that simplifies it for us. We have dashboards, you know, that we can design. So actually we can get quite complicated in our processes. They don't have to be linear anymore. So that actually what we can do, instead of having them from A to Z, we can have, you know, A, B and Q and Z all running at the same time to come to the same endpoint. They don't have to run sequentially. And we can monitor all of these different things that are going on at the same time, because technology allows us to do that. So it's really about understanding how you can test, how you can measure, and how you can use all of that great information to affect your processes. So you may be modifying several processes for the same journey, you know, at the same time. We can do that by using technology to enable us to actually do that. So really think about, you know, like how you manage your process. Is part of it outsourced? Can you outsource some of your processes? Are you the best person to actually do that? It's not a linear business anymore, really. So really thinking about, you know, your endpoint, which is your customer, and then work back where is the best use of your resources. Should you be doing that in-house? Can you outsource some of it? So you can outsource a lot of your testing as well. You don't necessarily need to do everything. So really think about outsourcing multidisciplinary teams and how you can utilize them. You know, I know of a lot of businesses that are outsourcing to the Philippines because there's certain skill set there. It's cheaper and they can do it quicker and all of that. So the world has really enabled us to run our businesses from really small HQs, but actually have different teams in different parts of the world because they have different skill sets. So really think about, you know, how you're growing your business and what the limitations may be, and how you can properly start to outsource some of those disciplines to different teams. But it's also about co-creating for high impact. Last week I talked about product and really kind of looked at how you can co-curate and who you're going to do that with your customer. So and I had some great examples of Lego and Made.com and how they've actually created whole communities to actually help them decide on the next design. But also you can have those communities to test your processes as well. Give people a free sample on the basis that they feed back, you know, what it was like, you know, and that's how you pilot and launch some of the new services that you may have, and to actually get them to run through your processes before you go live on it. So really think about that, how you can have a beta product and use, you know, your clearly defined customers to actually enable you to develop that on further before it goes live. So really think about co-creating with your customers, and watch the Facebook Live from last week to go through all of that. But it's also about learning is really iterating. You know, like there is no failure, all there are lessons. So if, you know, think about, can you launch things early, knowing that, you know, a year from now it's going to look completely different. You're willing to fail. And you have to really be quite brave to do that. I understand that. But, you know, it's a quick way of bringing your new product, your new service up to speed by telling people that, you know, you're evolving, this product is evolving. So it's either free or it's really low cost, and to get people in and really kind of like iterate, learn as you go, and keep adding it on, keep redesigning and relaunching that product until you feel that it's at a stage where it's good enough. Remember, I said there is no perfect, it's good enough. So actually looking at how you can develop and learn, relaunch, develop and learn, relaunch, you know, with your products. Often I find companies and especially small businesses that are really close to their particular idea, they're in this darkened room, they want the perfect website, the perfect product before they're willing to launch that. Well, in the meantime, somebody else is launching something similar somewhere in the world that is going to scoop up all of your customers. Can you afford to do that? So really think about using your customers, using your community to help you to develop your products and to test your processes as well. And then it's about really kind of like real-time feedback. It doesn't work unless you have a community, or unless you have, you know, trusted customers or most valued customers, or your target group that are actually you're getting feedback from. Because the two things don't work. Otherwise, you're just designing that process that works for you. So you've absolutely got to have customers at the core of your business, and certainly when you're designing and improving on your processes. So what is a mechanism that you've got to get that feedback really, really quickly? And it's really hard getting feedback. I know it is really, really hard, but you've really just got to keep going. So, you know, it may be that you go into Facebook groups and you build a reputation of, you know, being a real giver, so that when you want something in return, people are all more than willing to actually do that. Yes, it's an investment of time, but the return could be absolutely massive. That could really make or break your business. You know, there are lots and lots of ways to actually get feedback. You know, you can do surveys, focus groups. When I worked for an innovation company, I did lots and lots of focus groups, and this is where I got my real focus on customers. I realized, I understood that your customers are your best designers, your best innovators. And so from, you know, 15 years ago or 10 years ago, I really got that. And we're talking about customer journeys, customer experience, all of those things. This is what I was doing way before it was popular, by really getting that customers have to be core to your business. And this is why I've continued to go on and talk about this and really share this with people. But the other way you can get feedback are observations. Literally go into a competitor business and watch what their customers do. You know, you can't be arrested, you know, doing that. Really understand what customers do. You know, at the point of sale, this is a touch point, and it's a great opportunity not only to ask people, you know, have a nice day, but actually to ask them, why did you choose this product? You know, have you used this before? You know, what do you think? You know, all of these things. And this could be just in friendly banter conversation, but you actually trained your frontline staff to gather that kind of data and to do it in a way so that the customer feels that their opinion is really valued, because it is really valued. You can do customer service, you know, calls to people that have had the service, and you've got their contact details, and you contact them and offer them a free gift. You can do it through social media as well, running competitions, you know, community groups that you're a part of that are relevant to your business. All of these things in the usual kind of email and web forms. There are so many ways so many ways to gather information from your customer, to actually ask them to test what you're doing and gather that feedback so that you can iterate and improve and learn and relaunch your product. You really need to think about, there isn't a product that ever is finished. There isn't a service that's ever done. You know, you really need to think about that. Part of it is that you're gathering feedback. I've just put in a tender for a consultancy job up in Scotland, and I thought, actually, while I was writing this, because, you know, the project value is the budget is okay. But while I was writing, I was putting more and more into it, kind of a bit over-delivered. But then what I realised was this is an online course, you know, so I was putting, you know, so much, getting really excited about, you know, delivering this and the outcomes and measuring it, and then realised actually that is a great online course. So even before, I may not get the job, you know, this is the risk you always have when you do tenders. But I've got the material, I've started to develop it. So now what I need to do is create a community around it to see whether it is worthwhile actually developing the product and launching it. I've got something to talk to. And now, over the next 3 months, that's what I need to do. I need to gather real evidence that there is a need for this, that I could create another product out of it. So really think about that. Everything you do, how you can repurpose it, how you can really kind of leverage the knowledge that you have. And so, you know, if you fast track your development of your product and your processes using technology, the type of things that I've talked about, and really kind of like having customers in your business and really valued in your business, their opinion and the feedback in your business, then, you know, really your business is only going to continue to develop and grow. And it's really important to understand that. You know, because of technology, every business can more or less copy another business easily, unfortunately. You know, products and services have really become commodities. Now, I know you think yours is different. You know, it's not. What is different, where you do get competitive advantage, is your customers. Your customers give you that. If they give you business, if they buy from you, if they value what you do, if they communicate with you, if you have a two-way conversation, if they really do become advocates of your business, that is your competitive advantage. By having that close, honoured, valued, trusted relationship with your customer, that is your competitive advantage. Because if anyone else can actually produce your product, what they don't have your customer. So that's why you need to really, really understand what will make your customer happy, how you can make it simpler, easier, how you can really add value so that your customer becomes your advocate, and that is the real value in your business. You know, you think about Facebook, you know, for many years it didn't make any money at all, but what it did, it had community and the values in the billions before it even made any money. So you think about it nowadays, it's, you know, it's not, the value of businesses is not in the bricks and mortar anymore. It's not in the products. It's actually in the community. It used to be that, you know, your net worth was measured in monetary terms. And with social media, clout scores and the like, it's measured in your influence. You know, your net worth is your network, really. It's your community, it's your influence, and it's no different for your business as well. If you have a group, a community of loyal customers, you're more likely to be able to develop products, especially if they're in the core of the business that they want. So actually it becomes self-fulfilling, really, which is beautiful, because you can almost not do anything but do what the customer wants, because you're so embedded in their consciousness, you know, that they love what you do, and because you clearly understand who those customers are and have a great relationship and a two-way conversation, that you can continue to create more and more products that will automatically sell to these people, and they're not going to go anywhere else because they have the relationship with you. So you can you see how your relationship, your community, having your customer at the core of your business and really understanding their wants and needs is imperative to the future of your business. Now, show me some love if you get this and it's really kind of making a difference to how you're thinking about your business. It will be brilliant, you know, to your comments. I always kind of go in after this is recorded to answer any questions that you have on the things that you've picked up and learnt. But it's really great to get people that are sharing my content and showing some love. So I really do appreciate it. So please let me know if this is the kind of information that is making a difference to you, your business, and you're able to get you to think differently about your business. And you know, that's what I want you to think differently, and I want you to act differently, because I want your business to be the business of the future. And these are tools that are available to you, and it doesn't have to cost a lot of time or money. Often it's about a change in mindset. So it's really, really important to think about how you can make your processes simple, seamless, so it's seamlessly delivered. It's designed from the customer's point of view. It's consistently getting great reviews. And if it's not, then you actually have a process in place to really embrace those complaints and to put it right, to actually make sure that you're continually looking at those touch points, the crossover points, and looking to improve them. So you have a process of continual improvement, and you're very much looking not only at your products and services, but your processes to deliver those products and services, and looking at how you can make it easy for your customers to access your business. So it includes the complaint system that you have and really embracing. It includes having a real the competitive advantage is achieved by the technology and the process advancements that you use, that really kind of like spending a little bit of time looking at the people in your business and a little bit of money to make sure that you're constantly focusing on improving your processes for your customers. It's also really important to check your perceptions. I think in the last Facebook Live, or the one before, was it Baines or the Harvard Business Review? Anyway, I'm sure it was probably Baines. Baines, research company, consultancy company, they did some research on senior executives and asked them about their perceptions on the service that they delivered, and they all said, you know, like 80% said we're about 80% there. It's, you know, it's not perfect, but it's about there. 80%. When they then went to the customers and surveyed the actual customers that used that service, the customers said it was 8%. So from 80, from the internal managers or entrepreneurs perspective, to 8%, the customer's perspective. So it's really important for you to survey, you know, how your customer feels about doing business with you, what the service was like. Your perceptions of it is going to be vastly different from your customer's perceptions. And remember, I said they're the only ones that count, not you. So you really need to have a process in place to constantly gather that information, just to make sure that, you know, you're maybe 20% out, but not from 80 to 8. You know, that is ridiculous. So you've really got to be on the button and understand that it's your customer's perspective that is the only perspective in your business that really counts. And then it's really important that you look at how your operations are functioning. You know, often I will go in and hear for the kind of a medium-sized company, you know, have great ideas and then think, oh, well, how's operations going to do it? It's now their job. to do it. You know, we've got marketing's had the great idea, you know, and now we're just going to push it over to the other function. Let them work it out. That's the worst way to do it, because the solution in the end will end up being maybe about 20-30% of what it should be. So it's really about looking at your operational structure of the whole organisation. And does it work in silos, or do you work across all of the different functions if you're kind of a medium-sized business? You know, like, do you have a finance person that works off-site, or do they work within your business? How often do you communicate with them? How are their systems and processes interacting with your customer system and processes? So it's really about understanding that you're all one. It's all one business, all one company. It has one objective, and that is to please the customer. And so by saying that this is a great idea, I wonder how operations are going to do it, actually means that, you know, your functions don't interact together. And it really should be that they actually work as one. So if there is an idea, operations need to be at the table, customers need to be at the table. Anyone that has an impact on that great idea coming about and being delivered needs to be around the table. So even if you have outsourced teams, how much do you talk to them about designing, you know, the process that's going to be delivered to your end customer? When you're designing a product, how much of the customer's input is in there? So really think about that. To rapidly adapt and change your practices, it's really important that you think about the agility, the flexibility, you know, how quickly you can change. In order to do that, you need to think about your whole supply chain, from your customer down to your, you know, the bolt being purchased, and looking at how that all functions, how it communicates with one another. You know, personal relationships are really, really key to businesses being able to really short circuit the process, to really kind of get to the nub of what's really important. Your relationships in your business can actually tell whether you have a fully functioning, healthy business, or a business that's, you know, needs a bit of help, that is sick. So often, you know, when I go into a new business, I look at the relationships within the business, and they're often a reflection of the relationships outside of the business. So if you're not, you know, working closely as a team, happy in your business, then it's not going to be any different outside of your business, the relationships you have with your customers. So it's really important to actually look at that, because your personal relationships, the relationships in your business, is your competitive advantage, really is your competitive advantage. The relationships you have with your customers is your competitive advantage. And if you don't have great relationships in your business, you're not going to have great relationships outside of your business. So you really need to make sure that that's functioning and working really well. So businesses recognize that their ability to be agile is a major competitive advantage, and smaller businesses, because of their simpler operation, their closer relationships, they have an advantage over larger businesses. They really do. And it's really about investing in that advantage that, you know, a smaller business might have over a larger business. You know, in a customer-centric environment, customers are at the core of your business. So if you actually, your lead times are shorter, your touch points are less in order to get to the end point with your customer, then you have more control over that. You know everybody that's involved in that, and you can have conversations to make those changes really, really quickly. So, you know, the relationships are absolutely paramount, but also, you know, how you communicate. It's really important to be absolutely transparent with your customers. So even if there are changes, and if you're continuously improving, there will be changes. So whether it's good or whether it's bad, it's important to be transparent and notify the people that are going to be impacted by those changes really early, and not be concerned when it's a bad, you know, it's something bad, because it's important to be transparent and communicate that, because then people were more understanding. If you say that a particular service is being taken down, or, you know, you're cancelling something, you know, make people aware of it long before, and you'll have less disgruntled people. And just be aware that perfection doesn't exist. So it's okay to show your vulnerability. It's okay to say that you failed on something, but you're putting it right, but you're going to do this, and you know, thank those people that complained for their input and for helping you as a business. You really appreciate it. That's the attitude you really need to have. You know, really guard against your processes taking over your business, because they don't really have an objective. They don't really have an aim. All businesses need to be focused on their end user, their customer, and all businesses need to focus their products, their processes, everything they do to their end customer, and make sure that the end customer is really a part of the whole mechanism, the whole process, the whole feedback, and has a seat within your business. So that's it for now. Thank you so much for joining me. I do love it if you share it. I do love to get your comments. As when I post this, I put it on YouTube, and I post a blog. If you want the text format, you'll get that on Monday. So thank you so much for joining me on this Facebook Live. I do hope you've enjoyed it. Next week, I'm going to talk more about customers. I love talking about customers, so I'll be talking about customers. Thank you so much for taking the time out.